The crashed emergency beacon screamed through the storm as commander. Zara Voss piloted her reconnaissance craft through the turbulent skies of Aquatica Prime. Rain lashed against the viewport, while massive waves crashed against the planets. Endless archipelagos below. She'd been investigating energy signatures from the outer system when the distress signal cut through the static. "Unknown vessel down in Sector 7, she muttered into her comm, adjusting course toward the coordinates. The crash site emerged through the gray curtain of rain-twisted metal scattered across a small coral atoll, still glowing with residual energy from damaged power cores. Zara landed her craft on the narrow beach and activated her environment suit. The wreckage was unlike anything in the human fleet databases. Organic curves blended seamlessly with crystalline technology, creating something that seemed grown rather than built. Steam rose from pools of seawater where the hot metal met the ocean. Moving carefully through the debris, she heard a melodic sound, almost like singing. Following the haunting notes, Zara discovered a figure trapped beneath a section of hull plating. The being was clearly female, with pale blue skin that shimmered like mother of pearl and long, flowing hair that seemed to move with its own current, even out of water. "Hey, can you hear me?" Zara called, kneeling beside the trapped alien. Luminous. Eyes opened, meeting hers with startling intelligence. The creature spoke in liquid tones that reminded Zara of whale song, urgent and pleading. Working quickly, Zara activated her suit's strength enhancers and lifted the debris. The alien was badly injured, with dark fluid seeping from cuts along her arms and torso. Her skin was already dulling, losing its lustrous quality as she struggled to breathe the humid air. "You're dehydrated," Zara realized, recognizing the signs from her xenobiology training. "You need water." The alien reached out with webbed fingers, grasping Zara's gloved hand. Her touch sent an unexpected warmth through the environmental suit's sensors. Those luminous eyes held such desperate trust that Zara made a decision that would change both their lives. "I'm taking you with me," she whispered, carefully lifting the surprisingly light form. The alien curled against her, that melodic voice humming weakly against Zara's chest dot. As her craft lifted off from the crash site, Zara looked down at her passenger. Regulations demanded she report any alien contact immediately, but something about this being called to her on a deeper level. The way those eyes had looked at her, the trust in that desperate touch, this wasn't just another diplomatic incident. "What are you?" Zara murmured as they flew toward her outpost through the endless storm. The alien's only response was another haunting melody that seemed to resonate in Zara's very bones. Healing Watershara's private quarters aboard the floating research station had never housed anything more exotic than coffee from Earth, but now she frantically converted her bathroom into a makeshift recovery pool. The alien lay unconscious on her bed, her shimmer fading more with each passing minute. "Commander, you can't just bring an unknown entity aboard without proper quarantine protocols." Lieutenant Jonas Red argued from the doorway, his weathered face creased with concern. "Admiral Corvin will have both our heads if—" "Look at her, Jonas," Zara interrupted, adjusting the water temperature. "She's dying. Whatever bureaucratic nightmare comes next, I won't let that happen on my watch." The alien stirred as warm salt water filled the improvised pool. Her eyes fluttered open, and when she saw the water, relief flooded her features. With Zara's help, she slipped beneath the surface, and immediately her skin began to regain its lustrous quality. Fascinating. Bioluminescent patterns emerged across her body as she healed spirals of gold and silver that pulsed with her heartbeat. Jonas stepped closer despite his reservations, his scientific curiosity overriding military protocol. "Those markings," he breathed, "they're not just decorative. They're communicating something." The alien surfaced gracefully, her movements now fluid and hypnotic. She spoke again in that melodic language, gesturing toward herself and then to Zara. The patterns on her skin shifted to deeper blues and purples when she looked at Zara directly. "I think she's trying to tell us who she is," Zara said, kneeling beside the pool. The alien reached up and gently touched Zara's face with wet fingers. Her expression intensely focused. Suddenly, the patterns flared brilliant gold, and both women gasped. For just a moment, Zara felt something, not words exactly, but meaning. Images of vast underwater cities, of ceremonies performed in crystal caves, of a crown made from living coral. "Royal markings," Jonas whispered, his face pale. "Commander, I think you've rescued alien royalty." The alien seemed to understand their recognition. She touched her chest and spoke a single word that sounded like flowing water over stones. Then she pointed to Zara and repeated the gesture, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to warm amber. "She's claiming some kind of connection to you," Jonas observed, backing toward the door. "Zara, whatever's happening here, it's bigger than a simple rescue. I'll buy you time with the reports. But you need to figure out what she wants." Alone with the alien princess, Zara watched those hypnotic patterns dance across her skin. When their eyes met, she felt that strange warmth again, deeper now and more intense. The alien smiled, the first purely human expression Zara had seen. From her, and began to sing softly. The melody filled the small space, seeming to resonate with the water itself. Zara found herself leaning closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. The alien's hand found hers beneath the water, their fingers intertwining naturally. Whatever was beginning between them, Zara knew there would be no going back. The bonding ritual. 3 days had passed since the rescue, and Nerida, as Zara had begun calling her, inspired by ancient Earth myths, had grown stronger in her saltwater sanctuary. Dr. Marcus Vale, the station's marine biologist, had become fascinated by her physiology and the implications of her rapid healing abilities. "Her cellular structure is unlike anything we've documented," Marcus explained to Zara over morning coffee. "She's not just amphibious, she's adapted to pressure depths that would crush a human. And those bioluminescent patterns appear to be a complex communication system." Zara nodded absently, her thoughts consumed by the strange dreams that had plagued her since Nerida's arrival. Visions of underwater palaces and ceremonies she couldn't understand, always accompanied by that haunting melody that seemed to echo in her bones. When she returned to her quarters, she found Nerida floating peacefully in the pool, her patterns dim with rest. But as Zara approached, they flared to brilliant life, cycling through colors that seemed to match her emotions. "Good morning," Zara said softly, settling beside the pool's edge. Nerida surfaced with fluid grace, her luminous eyes fixed intently on Zara's face. She began to sing, but this time the melody was different, deeper, more complex, filled with harmonics that made the water itself seem to vibrate. Suddenly, Nerida reached out and grasped Zara's hand, pulling her toward the water with surprising strength. "Wait, what are you?" Zara began, but Nerida's urgent expression stopped her protests. Trusting her instincts, Zara allowed herself to be drawn into the warm salt water, her clothes clinging as Nerida guided her deeper. The alien princess positioned them face to face, her hands framing Zara's cheeks as those golden patterns began to pulse with increasing intensity. "Nerida, what's happening?" Zara whispered, but her words were lost as the alien pressed their foreheads together. The moment their skin touched, the world exploded into sensation. Nerida's patterns flared brilliant white, and suddenly Zara could see matching marks appearing on her own arms beneath the water. Not bioluminescent like Nerida's, but somehow visible, somehow real. Images flooded Zara's mind, not her own memories, but Nerida's. A vast underwater kingdom, ceremonies of binding conducted in sacred grottos, the weight of a crown that represented the hopes of an entire species. And through it all, the overwhelming certainty that this ritual was permanent, irreversible. The bonding ceremony. Marcus's voice seemed to come from far away as he burst through the door. "Commander, you need to separate immediately." But it was too late. The patterns had settled into Zara's skin, visible only when the light caught them just right. Nerida released her with a satisfied smile, her own markings now pulsing with deep contentment. What did she do to me? Zara gasped. Pulling herself from the water, Marcus ran his scanner over both women, his face growing increasingly grave. "According to my readings, she's formed a biochemical bond between you. In her species culture, this would be ... He swallowed hard. A mating ritual. "Commander, I believe you're now considered married by her people's standards." Nerida sang softly, her hand finding Zara's as the implications crashed over them both. Forbidden Depths' alien fleet appeared at dawn like silver, jellyfish descending from the storm clouds. 12 massive ships, their organic hulls pulsing with the same bioluminescent patterns that marked Nerida's skin. Aboard the research station, alarms blared as Admiral Corvin's voice crackled through the comm system. "All personnel to battle stations. Commander Voss, report to the bridge immediately." Zara found Admiral Corvin studying the tactical display. With grim intensity, his scarred face reflecting the harsh bridge lighting. Beside him stood a figure she'd never seen before, tall, imposing, with the same aquatic features as Nerida, but marked with aggressive crimson patterns. "Commander," Admiral Corvin began without preamble, "this is Prince Tidal of the Sirathi Empire. He's here to collect his betrothed." Prince Tidal spoke in perfect, if accented, human standard. The Princess Nerida has been missing for one rotation. Her wedding ceremony was to take place upon her return from the diplomatic mission. His crimson patterns flared brighter. "We have tracked her life signs to this facility." Zara's heart clenched. She was injured in a crash. "We've been providing." "Medical aid? Aid?" Prince Tidal's laugh was like breaking waves against stone. "Our sensors detect the bonding resonance. Some human has dared to perform the sacred ritual with our future queen." Admiral Corvin's face darkened. "Commander Voss, please tell me you haven't compromised our entire diplomatic relationship with an interstellar empire." Before Zara could respond, the lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in as Nerida's voice echoed through the station's corridors, not her usual melodic tones, but something deeper, more commanding. The song seemed to emanate from the very walls. "She's calling her guard," Prince Tidal snarled. "Captain Reef's elite forces. They've infiltrated your station." Zara ran for her quarters, her heart pounding. She found Nerida standing waist deep. In her pool, her entire body blazing with golden light as she sang. The patterns on Zara's own skin were responding, growing visible and warm. "Nerida, we have to go," Zara said urgently. "Your people are here, and they're not happy about our bond." Nerida turned, her eyes reflecting infinite sadness and fierce determination. She spoke rapidly in her native tongue, her hands gesturing. Between them and toward the walls, where sounds of combat were growing closer. "She says the bond cannot be undone," came a new voice from the doorway. A Sirathi warrior stood there, but his patterns were peaceful blues and greens. "I am Captain Reef, sworn to protect the princess. She has chosen her mate according to ancient law, regardless of political arrangements." Prince Tidal appeared behind Reef, his crimson markings now pulsing with rage. "She belongs to our people. The alliance depends on this union." "I belong to no one," Nerida said suddenly in clear human standard, her first words in their language. She moved to stand beside Zara, their joined hands making both their patterns flare bright. "Except by choice." The station shook as both fleets prepared for battle. Zara looked at Nerida, seeing her whole future reflected in those luminous eyes. Then we make our own choice. Together, they dove for the emergency escape pods, leaving behind everything they'd known for the vast, uncertain ocean below. Two hearts, one ocean 6 months beneath the waves, had changed everything. Zara floated in the crystal cave that had become their sanctuary, watching Nerida tend to the coral gardens that provided their sustenance. Her human lungs had adapted to the breathing apparatus Nerida had crafted from living organisms, and her skin now bore permanent patterns that complemented her mates perfectly. The surface dwellers in the Deep Kingdom both send envoys daily, Captain Reef reported during his weekly visit. His loyal guard had become their connection to the outside world, smuggling supplies and information to their underwater refuge. Ambassador Tide believes a solution may be possible. Zara surfaced beside Nerida in the small air pocket at the cave's crown. What kind of solution? Political marriages are ancient tradition, Nerida explained, her human standard much improved. But bonds of choice are sacred law, older than any arrangement. The Council of Depths grows curious about human potential. Through the cave's translucent walls, they could see the lights of approaching vessels, both human submersibles and Sirathi ships, moving in formation rather than opposition. Ambassador Tide's negotiations had been proceeding for weeks. Here, Reef announced unnecessarily as the first figures entered their sanctuary. Admiral Corvin looked uncomfortable in his diving gear, but his expression had softened since Zara's disappearance. Prince Tidal's crimson patterns had faded to resigned purple, and he swam beside an elderly Sirathi, whose patterns shifted like aurora. The matriarch of the Deep Council, Nerida whispered to Zara. My great-grandmother. The ancient being approached. Them, her patterns cycling through colors Zara had never seen before. When she spoke, her voice resonated through the water like distant thunder. The bond is acknowledged, Ambassador Tide translated. The princess has chosen according to the oldest laws, but the alliance between our peoples requires new terms. Admiral Corvin stepped forward. The Human Federation proposes a different arrangement. Cultural exchange programs, scientific cooperation, shared colonies on ocean worlds. He looked directly at Zara, with Commander Voss and Princess Nerida as our first ambassadors. Nerida's hand found Zara's beneath the water, their patterns synchronizing as they had learned to do in moments of decision. Together? Zara asked. Always together, Nerida replied, pressing their foreheads together in the gesture that had first bound them. The matriarch's patterns shifted to approving gold as she began to sing not the haunting melody Zara had first heard, but something joyous and welcoming. Soon the entire gathering had joined the song, human voices blending with Sirathi harmonies in the crystal cave dot as the ceremony concluded with their formal recognition as ambassadors. Zara marveled at how a chance rescue had become something so much greater. Nerida floated beside her, patterns glowing with contentment as they prepared to surface together, not just as mates, but as bridges between two worlds ready to explore the depths of possibility. The ocean that had brought them together would carry them forward into a future neither species had imagined alone.